Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. Here's your flash briefing for the week of December 4th. City Council will meet for a regular session Tuesday night at 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. If you can't watch, quickly catch up on City Council meetings by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. You can pay your Jackson County property, business, and real estate taxes at Treasury in the lobby of City Hall. Payments received at Treasury can be in the form of cash, check, or card. If you pay at City Hall, Lee Summit benefits are receiving 1% of all tax dollars collected. Treasury is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Learn more, including extended hours, at cityofls.net. And visit the Lee Summit Farmers Market Annual Holiday Mart in the lobby of City Hall this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Shop the best local goods from amazing market vendors. The first 100 customers will receive a free Farmers Market tote bag. Learn more at downtownls.org. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden.
And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks.
And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour. This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work. Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Well, so for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook, just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station. And the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better. And that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we have doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, we have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here to fill up our air tanks. You see firefighters wear the big air tanks on their backs and they use those in a fire. We can come back and fill those up and make sure that we're ready to go again when we're wanting to go run another call. We have our own workshop here. We work on a lot of our tools and making sure that everything's clean and operational, and this gives us the capability to do that, again, to make sure that we have everything we need and we're as capable as we can be running calls throughout the city. Cancer prevention is very important in the fire service right now. Because of that, we have an extractor machine, and what this does is gives us the capability when we come back from a fire, we can put our bunker gear into this machine and get all that really nasty crud off of our gear. Again, kind of getting back to that cancer prevention mode, allowing us to be as clean as we possibly can for the next call. And finally is our bunker gear room. We each have our own individual locker. This gives us the opportunity to store our gear when we're not here working in between shifts, as well as keep a clean extra set on here in case we do run a fire and we need to clean our current gear. Typically, this is where your day starts off at the fire station. You come in and get your gear and put it on wherever you're working that day, and then you end the same way, bring your stuff back to your locker to go home after working. This is Med 3. This ambulance just currently moved into the station from Station 7. Station 3, since we've had it built, has turned into one of our busiest stations in the city. Therefore, we wanted to provide the best care in the closest unit as we could. So we moved one of our ambulances up, and this became Med 3 for this particular instance. Out of this station, we also have Pumper 3. And that's a fire apparatus that they utilize to run the calls on this west end of the city. The last vehicle that you see is the chief's vehicle. We have 2 shift chiefs on shift every day, and they split the city. And this chief running out of this station typically covers the west and south area of the city, while our chief at Station 2 covers kind of that northeast section of our city, and they divide it up evenly.
Thank you for going on a tour with us today. If you have any other questions about the Lee Summit Fire Department, please go to our webpage at lsfire.net or follow us on Facebook at Lee Summit Fire Department.
Thanks for joining us on the tour.
It's member level. Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation, Ryan. Thank you. Is there any indicator that shows, are we supporting a need with...
You know, they talk about like gym rats, kids that grew up with their dads that were coaches. Like I was a city hall rat. My dad, Tom Lovell, was hired as the Parks Administrator in 1978 and spent 40 years in public service here in Lee Summit. I would go up on the weekends when he was working, and I'd run around and play and do things, and I didn't know what he was doing at the time, but I just knew that was part of our weekend routine some days, was to go up and hang out at City Hall. Being part of a city from a young age to now in my adult life, you reap so many benefits from that. The people you know, you care more for something that you've been a part of. My wife and I knew we wanted to raise a family. Just trying to find a community that we thought we could raise our children in, that was good to me. And it just felt like the right move as we were deciding on a city to come back to. Fortunate to have started a business in 2018. I founded Level Insurance Group, and we are a business insurance brokerage. So we help businesses procure insurance. Decided to throw our flag in the ground here in Lee Summit, and it's grown. I also have this passion for learning and curiosity, and I started a podcast series. So I really enjoy this opportunity where I sit down with business owners and tell their story and get this out to other people in hopes that maybe it betters their life and gives them some inspiration or something. It's going to be a really exciting time, and obviously this city's in my blood. My dad's been a part of it for a long time, so I'm really excited. Thank you all. A lot of people would say I was crazy, right? So why do you throw your hand up and subject yourself to going into city politics? I think, especially as I've gotten older, I just felt, maybe a civic duty, like a responsibility to say, hey, this city's been great to me. Here's a way that I can give back and take some of my skills and put them to work for the people of this city. I wanted to bring a different, maybe way of thinking and take some of my business acumen and see areas that it may apply to how we develop and grow this community and just give a different perspective. One of our biggest challenges, but also one of our biggest opportunities, is how do we develop and grow this community? We don't want to grow too fast, but we want to grow at a pace that helps support, who and what we are as a community. So, we've got a lot of opportunities, whether that be through development or parks. We've got a lot of land coming on board. So I just think it's important, it's a challenge, but it's also our greatest opportunity. And so we just got to be smart how we do that. It's just asking some different questions. I'm one that I'm not contrarian for contrarian's sake. What I am is someone will tell me something, and then I want to get to that position with them by just asking thoughtful questions along the way. And then if I can get there, then I feel like we've answered everything we can to move that forward, versus, hey, here's kind of how we've done it. I'm never this is how we do it, this is how we've always done it, and this is how we'll continue to do it. Office of Council Member for District 2. All of my practical experience has put me in this position to serve, and I just raised my hand and said I want to do that. For which I was elected on April 5th, 2022. I feel this obligation to carry this legacy that my dad did, my family did, and then giving my kids an environment to grow up in that makes them want to come back. My kids have started rec sports through the Parks and Recreation system, and I'm watching them play soccer on this sport field that, my dad helped develop. And my dad's sitting there with me, right? I mean, that's the stuff that really matters in life.
Sounds like the voice from heaven there. Is that Councilmember Lovell?
All right, so can everybody hear us now?
Huh. Maybe they haven't turned our mics on.
Councilmember Shields, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, so we're ready if you're ready to start the meeting, I think.
Okay. All right, I am ready to go. Or, can we go ahead and get turned on? Are we live?
Yes, we're ready to go.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to call to order this December 4th meeting of the Finance and Budget Committee. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye. Or here.
Hodges?
Here.
Vice Chair Lovell?
Here.
Chair Shields?
Here. All right. Sounds like we've got a quorum. And I appreciate everybody working with us with Zoom for myself and Mayor Pro Tem. I think we both have crazy schedules today, so it's much appreciated flexibility. All right. First item is approval of the agenda. I know we had one item needed to get taken off of the agenda, and I'm looking for the language they sent me. How do you guys, Law Department, do you want to handle that now or when it comes up on the agenda?
Ed Rucker's here, and he said he would like to handle that now. So you can basically just say you want to remove item 5B TMP 282.
So we're going to go ahead and remove item 5B TMP 2822. That's going to come back to us in January, I understand. So with that change, can we get an approval of the agenda?
Chair,
Yes.
I move for the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Can we get a vote on that, please?
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Oh, Vice Chair Lovell, sorry.
Aye.
And Chair Shields?
Aye. All right. We have approved the agenda. Next item of business is public comments. Do we have any public comments today?
None have been received in the clerk's office.
Okay. Next item is approval of the November 6th action letter. Can I get a motion, please?
Chair,
Mm-hmm.
I move for the approval of the November 6, 2023 Finance and Budget Action Letter.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the November 6th action letter. Can we get a vote on that, please?
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Hodges?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lovell?
Aye.
Chair Shields?
Aye. All right, that passes. We are skipping item 5B as we just discussed. So next item 5C, TMP 2845, an ordinance authorizing the expedited vehicle purchase of a 2023 Ford T350 custom interior command post vehicle from Van Doit in the amount of $208,000 and authorizing the city manager to execute all related and necessary documents for the same. And I apologize, I can't see who's presenting on this one.
Good afternoon, this is Mark Stinson, Fleet Manager. I'll talk a little bit about this and then I'll hand it over to Major Colline. This is for the expedited vehicle purchase of a command van, but specifically for a 2023 Ford T350 transit van. And with the expedited vehicle purchase, Van Do It is actually a Ford ship-through dealer approved holding of these vehicles. So they actually have this vehicle on the lot, and it's all set up with their specifications needed. So the expedited purchase would allow us to have that van immediately, and they can go into the process of building it for our command zone or our command van. That would allow us to have it much earlier if we had to go through our normal channels of ordering through the factory and through some of our other ways. It would be about a year before we would receive that van as it looks right now. And also, we're getting the 2023 pricing on that van instead of the increased. So the van itself is being built by Van Do It, not to exceed $208,000. And if Major Colon, if you don't mind taking over, and he will talk a little more about the van and the upfit of it.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Council members, Kerry Colon, Operations Major with the Police Department. I won't rehash what Mr. Stinson covered. I just have a short presentation to include some pictures of the vehicle we're procuring and what it looks like after it's completed. As we mentioned, there's a number of uses. Down a little bit. As I mentioned, there's a number of uses for this. It'll provide us workspace and access to technology on the scenes of various events. Examples include sustained CIU call-out search warrants, data recovery, drone operations, crisis negotiations, serious injury, fatality crashes, sustained canine operations, special details, and with that, we could include like Legacy Blast, Oktoberfest, Downtown Days, minor EOD and ESS operations, public relations and demos, and then field command in support of severe weather events, mass casualty events, and EOC support. Some of the specifications Mark mentioned, I'll get into some of the aftermarket stuff. It's got a tuned suspension package for handling, exterior scene lighting, boom camera lighting, driver and passenger side awning, emergency lighting, 3 workstations with 6 monitors and 3 chairs, drawers and cubicles located throughout the build for storage, a whiteboard, TV with exterior and interior mounts, aftermarket alternator with additional charging capacity, 360-degree security camera system, then exterior sirens and PA system. It also has internet connection providing Wi-Fi access for those when we're on scene. Van Do It's located in Blue Springs. It gives us easy access to monitor the build in progress, closed for maintenance purposes, and also for Mark's technicians to be associated with that. They have experience with similar builds for first responders, and they already have the vehicle on hand, which is one of the most important aspects of this. This is a public safety sales tax funded line item in the previously council approved public safety sales tax. You'll see a budget amendment come through in January that'll allocate those funds. And then the technology associated with it, we're talking the laptops, the routers, the monitors, things of that, will be added to the police department's MERP, allowing for the replacement as the tech becomes antiquated. Lastly, here's some photos of our proposed vehicle. That is actually our vehicle. It'll look a little different with the wheels and tires once the upfitting's done. All that glass will be covered from the interior. There's the rear view. All that paneling will be removed and replaced with Van Do It's rack systems. This chair here on the interior actually swivels around to take advantage of some additional workspace. And then a similar build, this is Blue Springs. Ours is a little longer and a little wider. It shows the exterior awnings and then the lights on the front. We will not have a winch. Nothing good can come of that, so we'll do away with that. There's the interior with the workstations. We will not have this seat here. We elected to optimize the workspace in the back. Some of the storage we talked about, additional workspace in the whiteboard, another shot from the interior, and then there it is with the lights on the outside at night, and a view from the rear with the doors open. So with that, I will answer any questions, or Mr. Stinson can as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Do we have any questions from the committee?
Chair,
Yes.
I just had a question. I think you mentioned, I just want to make sure this is part of the funding for this is coming from the public safety sales tax.
Yes,
and
sir.
something that we had identified that we were going to purchase.
Sure, it's an item on the strategic plan that we had identified the funding for, and our research has kind of been ongoing, but yeah, that the funding is coming from there.
And I can imagine that the difficulty procuring these vehicles right now and one coming online is the reason we're expediting this.
Yeah, I believe it's late 2025 if we were to actually buy it from Ford, or the chassis itself. So, and they do have it on hand. So.
Great, thanks. That's it. Thanks, Chair.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, I see you've got your camera on. Did you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. No, this looks like a great addition to our public safety. I did have just one question, a couple of the abbreviations. I think EOD and ESS, what do those stand for?
Yes, ma'am. So EOD is our explosive ordnance disposal, or our bomb squad, and then ESS is our emergency services squad, our SWAT team.
Okay, great. If there's no further questions, I would entertain a motion.
Chair?
Yes.
I move to recommend to City Council approval of agenda item TMP-2845, an ordinance authorizing the expedited vehicle purchase of a 2023 Ford T350 custom interior command post vehicle from Van Duit in the amount of $208,000 and authorizing the city manager to execute all related and necessary documents for the same.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move TMP 2845 to council with a recommendation of approval. Can we get a vote on that, please?
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lovell?
Aye.
Chair Shields?
Aye. All right, that passes. Next item on our agenda is TMP 2848, an ordinance approving the award of RFP number 2024-021 for the purchase of custodial services on an as-needed basis to Citywide Facility Solutions for a one-year term with up to 4 one-year renewals, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same for the city.
Good afternoon, Brian Page, Facilities Manager. This contract is to replace the vendor that we had under contract that on a Friday afternoon in August just emailed us and said we're out of business effective immediately. So we've had staff on a temporary basis fulfilling these duties in various locations, and we issued this RFP. Did the committee voting. We've selected Citywide Facility Solutions to be our contracted custodial vendor. There is no FY24 budgetary impact for this. We're covering this with funds that were already budgeted.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
All right, Chair. I move to recommend to City Council approval of agenda item TMP-2848, an ordinance approving the award of RFP number 2024-021 for the purchase of custodial services on an as-needed basis to Citywide Facility Solutions for a one-year term with up to 4 one-year renewals, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same for the city.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to move TMP 2848 to council with recommendation of approval. Can we get a vote, please?
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lovell?
Aye.
Chair Shields?
Aye. All right, that passes as well. Next item is TMP 2865, an ordinance approving the purchase of cross-connection control and backflow prevention compliance software portal to SWIT Comply sole source for the amount of $90,500, which includes a one-time setup fee of $2,000 and an annual fee of $40,500 for the Water Utilities Department, and authorizing the city manager to execute all related and necessary documents for the same.
All right, so good afternoon. Don Bennett, Assistant Director, Water Utilities. Bringing before you today an ordinance approving the purchase of a cross-connected control and backflow prevention software compliant or software portal to help us be more compliant. So the goal of the backflow compliance program is actually to safeguard and protect public drinking water by preventing the flow of any unwanted materials back into the public drinking water system. And so in order for us to remain in compliance, water utilities every year by city ordinance and then also by state statute with Missouri DNR has to submit compliance and show that all of our backflow devices within the city are following the annual requirement for testing in that. So Water Utilities is actually seeking to digitize this solution and adopt this portal that will help us deliver better services to our customers and to the backflow testers along with that. So currently right now the city has more than 12,000 backflow devices within the system. And of course with the growth of the city that number continues to rise, and we've operated with the same number of FTEs and staff with this program for a number of years without any increase. So what it's done is we've kind of adapted and evolved along with that. So we've kind of just pulled all hands on deck. We've hired some part-time, paid overtime until we could figure out a good solution to help us streamline this process. So we've found this portal that's actually used 400 utilities nationwide. They actually also have an agreement currently with our customer information system provider. So there's a software integration piece that's going to allow the data to talk back and forth between each other, save us a lot of man hours in being able to do that. It's going to allow us for streamlined data processing, streamlined notifications to water customers, and a portal accept backflow test reports that are submitted by the testers that the customer hires every year to remain in compliance. So again, ultimately what this is going to do for us is allow us to use technology to better gain, and watch the compliance that we have, because this is important to not let anything get into the water, public drinking water supply along with that. So the biggest part I think of this is the portal also addresses one of the goals set out in our recently adopted strategic plan by council that was done in October. So this is actually one of the first goals in the tactical plan, was to adopt an online portal solution for the backflow prevention program that includes annual test report management. And this program will do all of the above with that. So for the reasons above, we're recommended approving the purchase of the cross-connection control and compliance software portal with Swift Comply. And with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the committee? So, so long-term, the idea is that this will kind of increase efficiency, productivity, make these services more sustainable. It sounds like right now you guys are kind of limping along with the same crew as the city is growing, but hopefully this will make it so that they can do this work more efficiently. And is that the idea generally?
Yes, yeah. So the idea, and utilities across the country and in the metro are all in the same process, just as we all have to remain in compliance with this, and just utilizing technology to help track and gain that. Like right now, we're getting test reports that come in via fax. We've gotten them on napkins before. And so this will streamline a lot and help us to be more efficient moving forward into the future, with the city continuing to grow as it is.
Okay, well, no more napkins. That sounds good. Right. I would look for a motion if there's no further questions.
Chair?
Yes.
I move to recommend to City Council approval of Agenda Item TMP-2865, an ordinance approving the purchase of cross-connection control and backflow prevention compliance software portal to SWIT Comply sole source for the amount of $90,500, which includes a one-time setup fee of $50,000 and an annual fee of $40,500 for the Water Utilities Department, authorizing the city manager to execute all related and necessary documents for the same.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Hodges, and I think I'm giving that second to Councilmember Lovell. Can we get a vote, please?
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lovell?
Aye.
Chair Shields?
Aye. All right, that passes as well. Next item on our agenda is TMP 2867, an ordinance approving amendment number 6 to the budget for fiscal year ending June 30, 2024, adopted by ordinance number 9704, ordinance number 9705, ordinance number 9706, ordinance number 9707, and ordinance number 9708 by amending the authorized expenditures for the city.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair. Rick Gentry, Budget Manager. Item before you this afternoon is item TMP 2867. This is for budget amendment number 6 to the current FY24 budget. We have two items included in this amendment. One is to increase the spending authority in the public safety sales tax for the purchase of a vehicle for a position will be added with the FY25 year as a part of the public safety sales tax. This is a couple items earlier, the getting vehicles, long lead times, and the necessity to place those orders as the order windows open. So that's why we're, Police Department's requesting the addition of this purchase to the FY24 budget and FY24 public safety sales tax. And it'll also include the transfer of those funds to the Fleet Department, which the vehicle will be purchased from. This will give them a VERT payment, add to their VERT payment starting in, once they receive the vehicle, about $7,482. The second item is additional transfer of funds from the general fund to the fleet fund for $38,399. This is from the Public Works Department. They're using some vacancy savings. One of their dump trucks that they ordered with increasing cost. I think this is for the sand bed you see on the back of the truck, so they put in the dump trucks. So for the sand spreader, plow, and the dump bed, those are costs have went up significantly since the truck was ordered. So that the additional $38,000 is to cover those additional expenses. Again, they'll be transferred to the VERP fund, which the total truck will be paid for. With that, I'll take any questions, if any.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Gentry. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Here.
Yes.
I move to recommend to City Council approval of agenda item TMP-2867, an ordinance approving amendment number 6 to the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, as adopted by ordinance number 9704, ordinance number 9705, ordinance number 9076, ordinance number 9707, and ordinance number 9708 by amending the authorized expenditures for the city.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to recommend TMP 2867 to council for approval. Can we get a vote, please?
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lovell?
Aye.
Chair Shields?
Aye. All right, that passes as well. Next item on our agenda is roundtable, which is going to include a discussion of public official salaries. But before we get to that, do we have any other roundtable items anyone wants to bring up? Seeing none. So I kind of want to frame this discussion a little bit. We don't need to come to any kind of a decision necessarily this afternoon, but as a little bit of background, the City Council sets the salaries for the council, the mayor, and our municipal judges. The last time those were revised, the ordinance was passed in 2016 and took effect in 2018. So it's been several years. So I wanted to take a little bit of time for us to look at this to look at some comparator cities, see if we're in line with what our other cities in the metro are paying, and then also just kind of talk through, do we want to have any kind of adjustment based on the inflation that we've experienced, based on the growth of the city, and if we do decide that we want to adjust those salaries, then we can kind of talk about what our basis would be for that, whether it would be just based on strictly inflation to keep up with what they were when they were set several years ago, or if we want to look at other cities, our growth responsibilities, just kind of talk that through. So Ms. Wertelman, I think you had some of that data on the comparator cities, and then also some of those charts that I prepared based on what the salaries had been and then kind of what the inflation factor would be. So do you want to throw some of those up and we can kind of talk through them a little bit?
So So AV staff, it appears like both of these reports are the same. No, there we go, I'm sorry. Okay, Betty Wertelman, Finance Director. So this first page is showing some summary data out of a survey that the Human Resources Department conducted. They collected data from various cities for the mayor, the council members, and the elected judges. Each of these salary levels was put together from the responsive city and showing the population. There are some other variables that probably could impact comparisons of these salaries that aren't reflected in here, such as communications allowances, vehicle allowance, and things like that. So this is just kind of a simplistic version of the data that was collected, showing the reported salary for each of those categories.
Okay. And for context, our current salaries for city council, it's $11,400 a year, not including the car and communications allowance. For the mayor, it's $30,000 a year, and for a judge, it's $38,325. Have those right for Lee Summit? So, at least in my kind of initial review of this, it seemed like the salaries that we were paying were more or less in line with our neighboring communities. There's definitely a lot of variation out there in terms of what other communities pay. Some of them, it's more of a token amount. Some of them, it's a more significant amount. So do we have any discussion from the council on kind of thoughts about, have you had a chance to look at these comparator numbers?
Chair.
Yes.
I think it's, first of all, appreciate everybody that took the time to put this information together. And Chair, your email to us was very thorough, as I would expect nothing less from you. Always good emails. But I think this is just, you know, when you start to talk about public official pay and, you know, really trying, this is very enlightening to me, the information, like kind of where we check with what we would consider more comparable cities. So, you know, I think we're in line. Not opposed to recommending an inflation increase, something, you know, that you kind of put before us. But based on this information I see, I think, you know, with the way our charter is created and what we've intended, you know, these positions to be, I think it's kind of in line with what we do and kind of what's expected of us. So I appreciate the information, and it was very helpful and kind of nice to see other cities and how they pay their city officials as well. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes. Mayor Protem?
Yeah, I don't want to sound redundant. I appreciate Councilmember Lovell's perspective. First of all, I mean, it goes without saying, I know this is a public meeting. And if we had to discuss this in full city council, obviously that's a public hearing. But none of us do this for the money, obviously. You know, the good news is I also, like Councilmember Lovell said, I appreciate you being thorough and working with our staff, just to kind of, this is interesting, that if anything else, just I never really thought about it or compared it to other communities, other peers. But yeah, I mean, if this is in line, I think it's fair, as long as we're completely transparent, which we are, to just make the adjustment based on the indexes that are grown with the cost of living. But anything beyond that, obviously, I would not be in favor of. But yeah, I think it's something that I feel comfortable sharing with the full city council and recommending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair.
Councilmember Hodges? Yeah, please.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow council members as well. If it falls in line, then I agree that that's probably the right thing to do. I did have a question in regards to your email as far as the effective date. Why, or what made you say May 2026? What was the reasoning behind that?
Sure. So first of all, could we put up those charts that I sent around earlier so that we can have those in the public record? Okay. So as I understand it, the last time this was adjusted, it was passed in 2016 and made effective in 2018. No change in elected official salary can take effect until after the next election. So if you were to pass something today, it could take effect for the council members that are elected in April. It could take effect immediately, but it couldn't take effect for anyone else until the next election in 2 years. So the idea is if you push it out 2 years, then it would go into effect for everyone at the same time. You wouldn't have half the council making a different salary than the other half. So that was the only reason why I picked that date, was just kind of mirroring what we had done before. And then these numbers that I sent around, basically it's taking the current salaries and then I just popped them into a inflation calculator on the internet from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I believe, and came up with what the purchasing power would be today. And then I did, assuming a 3% inflation, what it would be in 2026. So basically, and we don't know what inflation will look like, that's just a guess. But basically, if we had the same purchasing power in 2026 as we did in 2018 when this took effect, it would give you a council salary of $15,233, a mayor's salary of $40,088, judge salary of a little over $51,000. So that was just to give a jumping off point to say, okay, without really increasing the value of that compensation, but just keeping up with inflation, what might that look like? And so that was my proposal, is just kind of giving round numbers based off of those calculations. So like I say, we can't predict what inflation will be over the next few years. I just figured we ought to kind of include that since we probably wouldn't have this take effect for a little bit, but that was what I wanted to have an open discussion on, is do we want to increase it? If so, do these numbers or something similar make sense, and would having it take effect after 2 elections from now so that it would all roll on at the same time make sense? So I would be happy to hear any thoughts on that.
That makes perfect sense. So thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, Chair, I would concur. Again, I know it was mentioned already, but thank you for being so thorough and transparent. I mean, and doing it correctly, above board. And I think this approach or this recommendation is appropriate because, in a couple of years, in 2026, we will have kind of a new council. And I think this makes a lot of sense to start it all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I would agree. And then I think I like the idea of 2026. That way you don't have, so if someone was elected in this next election cycle for a 4-year term, because we've enacted this before they were elected, they would qualify for the bump after that 2 years when it goes up. So I think that's a fair and equitable way of doing it, so you don't have certain council members making more money than the other. And so I'm total agreement. I think it'd be great to take this to the full city council and have a discussion there and see if it's something we want to move forward with.
Okay, I appreciate everybody's feedback, and I definitely echo what Mayor Pro Tem Lopez said, that we're not in this for the money, but we do want to make sure at the same time that the value that we're paying people who do give their time to the city isn't being eroded. And it's not just the council, it's also the judges and the mayor, which we know that they work really hard as well. So it sounds like we have consensus here. Ms. Wertelman, is this something where we could maybe have a proposed ordinance just based on the one from 2016, but with some updated numbers, and maybe have that to look at the next meeting? And I think if we looked at that in January, that'd give us plenty of time to have a discussion at council before the next election. Does that kind of sound like a reasonable timeline?
Yes, we can draft that and bring it forward for the January 3rd meeting.
Okay. Does that sound good to everybody? I got thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Well, that discussion was less painful than I expected it to be, but I want to thank staff who really did a lot of the good background legwork, putting together the comparator cities and finding the old ordinances and everything. That was very, very helpful. So I appreciate the hard work there as well. Do we have anything else in roundtable? All right, you guys are the best committee. We are going to adjourn at 4:38 p.m.
Thanks for all your work, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you guys and everybody Zooming and coming in person. We make it work.
Thank you, guys.